Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
So my talk title today is No One is Alone. I want to talk about the way that we are with other human beings. This married couple, married many, many years. They were driving on a Sunday afternoon, getting to where they were going, and it was a silent drive. Somebody knows what that's like. Have you ever been one of those silent drives with your partner? I'm not talking about a comfortable, companionable silence. See, they had an argument. They'd had a difference of opinions, a difference of perspective, and it got a little personal, a little heated, little words were exchanged, and now the words stopped. They're silent. Nobody is going to be the first one to break the silence. The husband, he notices that they're driving by a farm, and there are these two mules out in the fence, and he looks over and he said, "Mules, your relatives?" Without missing a beat, she says, "Yes, my in-laws." So before you get too happy about that, that's not the point. That's not where we want to go. This is an example of the way we don't want to be together. I chose the title, No One is Alone, and you musical theater fans may know that title. It's a song by Stephen Sondheim from Into the Woods. And normally, I don't like to read lyrics. I think it's better to hear them sung. That's the way they're meant to be. But this is really beautiful poetry, and this is where I want to go today in our message. Mother cannot guide you, now you're on your own. Only me beside you, still, you're not alone. No one is alone, truly. No one is alone. Sometimes people leave you halfway through the wood. Do not let this grieve you. No one leaves for good. You decide what's good. You decide alone. No one is alone. You decide, but you are not alone. Believe me, no one is alone. Believe me truly. You move just a finger, say the slightest word, something's bound to linger, be heard. No one acts alone. Careful. No one is alone. People make mistakes. Fathers, mothers, people make mistakes, holding to their own, thinking they're alone. Honor their mistakes. Everybody makes one another's terrible mistakes. Witches can be right. Giants can be good. You decide what's right. You decide what's good. Just remember, someone is on your side, someone else is not. And while we're seeing our side, maybe we forgot, they are not alone. Hard to see the light now. Just don't let it go. Things will come out right now. We can make it so. Someone is on your side. No one is alone. It's much prettier when it's sung. I recorded it on my very first album. I don't know if that's available on the streaming platforms or not, but I've always loved that song. And the thing I love about it, it's a comfort and it's a caution that we do not inhabit this life alone. And the comfort is we're never alone, that there is always someone to connect with, to find support with, someone for us to support these bonds of community and companionship. This is the nature of reality. Humans are so wired for connection. We're built for it, and it's here if we will make ourselves available to it and for it. No one is alone. That's why we're here on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights and in classes, and here on Wednesday mornings when we're feeding the hungry. We gather in community to remind each other that we are not alone. And it's a caution. careful. No one is alone. The words that we speak in anger, the decisions and the actions that we take when we are not in our best selves. Is that just me that does that? Or are you guys all transcended and healed and evolved? You don't do that anymore? And if, well, you might just listen for your neighbors then. This might be helpful for them. There are so many times in my life that someone says something to me, like maybe my kid's sermon was a little too high level, but somebody comes at me with some energy, right? And I want to respond in kind. And sometimes it happens before I even have a moment to choose or to decide. I just say something in that same energy, or I defend. I just clamp down. I do that too. I hide. I run away. And if we can just remember that they are not alone, that what I'm seeing here may well be family systems of trauma. We don't know what this contains, but the road rage incidents in Houston are alarming right now. And this is what it is. It's people who are carrying all of this pain. And then someone else does something that they don't like, and then it just rage meets rage. And innocents are being harmed and killed. The invitation here is to remember that while we're seeing our side and while they're seeing their side, to remember that they are not alone. And we are the ones invited into the choice, into the higher action, remembering we act from our oneness. And there's a phrase that I don't know where it originated. I don't think it originated in 12-step work, but that's where I learned it. When I see somebody acting the fool in the world, my job is to go, there, but for the grace of God, go I. Because I have acted the fool. Sometimes recently, but we're not going to go into that today. And this thought, no one is alone, it reminded me, there's a paradox at play here. Are we responsible for only ourselves, or are we in some way responsible for the collective consciousness? And the answer is yes. And it's a paradox, because how can we do both? Well, I went to an ancient story to seek some metaphysical truth, some ancient wisdom in these old writings. And I went to the story of Cain and Abel, which I know is problematic. It's been used for racist tropes, and I'm just going to set that aside for a moment. You know this story, right? These are the first two children born on earth, according to the legend, the myth, the story of creation in Genesis. In chapter 4, Adam and Eve made love. It's right there in the King James. I didn't make that up. That's in the Bible. Look it up. And we know what happens, right? When my elder brother, who just turned 60 yesterday, when his fourth child was born, my dad said, one day you're going to figure out what's causing this. They had 5, by the way, now 11 grandkids. But Adam and Eve had the first son, they named him Cain, and then later came Abel. Cain was a farmer. He grew plants for food and nourishment, and Abel was a shepherd. He tended the animals. They both decided to bring a sacrifice of their labors to God. And the Bible says, I'm going to actually read this so you can hear this. This is sort of the key to the metaphysics of this story. Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord, and Abel brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was angry and his face was downcast. And then what happens next is that Cain, in jealousy, murders his brother Abel. And then God comes looking. I guess I love the Old Testament, particularly in the Genesis God. He doesn't quite have the omniscience in place yet. He's like, what happened here? Where's your brother? And do you remember Cain's response? Am I my brother's keeper? Am I responsible for him? The metaphysics of this story really is this. God doesn't play favorites. God doesn't change up on us. My friend Maggie Cole and I were talking about that. God will never change up on you. But our perception and conception of God must grow and evolve as we grow so that we can hold the larger benevolence and generosity and wholeness of God. And so as Cain is making his offering, the scripture says he took some of what he had, and offered it from his labors into the good, into the all. But Abel brought the best, most beloved, most cherished of his work into the world, into God. As we are approaching this idea of, am I responsible for other people? Am I my brother, my sister's keeper? What the story, hidden in this story, is this idea of obligation or inspiration. How are we giving our love and support? How are we giving our connectedness and honoring each other as human beings inhabiting the planet at the same time? Are we doing it because Michael on Sunday said, I have to, I'm obligated to? Or do we find the part of us that already knows our connection? Do we get in touch with the true humanity and divinity of our being and recognizing that love is seeking to connect us all the time? And we give into this connectedness our sacrifice of service one to another, not from obligation to fulfill somebody's rule, but for fulfillment of our soul's purpose. And I don't think the story means that we're going to be murdered for it, okay? We're going to leave that right there. We are invited into this act of service and love and connection from inspiration, from heart. I didn't know where to fit this in the message today, so I'm just going to stick it right here because I know we need to hear it. If you watch we do a Friday live stream at Unity of Houston's Facebook page, and I'm at my living room with my piano, and I usually do some music, and then I teach a little bit. And what I said on Friday was, we're going to talk about graduate school level spirituality now. We're going to talk about boundaries. I didn't know nothing about no boundaries, but I was instructed early in my 12-step journey that I needed some work here. I needed to learn where I ended and other people began. I was very codependent. My sense of my own enoughness and well-being was that I needed other people to think well of me. And I would manipulate and contort myself to try and be what I thought they needed. I'm a middle child. Middle children here? Anyone know what I'm talking about? We're just going to go along to get along. We're going to do what we need to do just to get through this thing. And I had to learn that, no, I have an authentic voice and presence. And I don't need anyone to do or be anything for me, and I don't need to do or be anything for anyone other than my authentic self. Prentice Hemphill says this about boundaries. It's the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. See, we're not called to give ourselves away to our own detriment. As we are participating in this love of connection in our oneness, we are meant to love ourselves as well. And so we find the place where we can love ourselves. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and also love me. Maya Angelou, she has that beautiful quote about love knows no, not boundaries. What is the word that she uses? Barriers. And it's different than a boundary. Love does move forward with such a force of being from like this natural upwelling of good that we are. But in our human sense, we don't want to move beyond what our own boundaries are. And this is what Maya says about boundaries. She says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And there are 3 more words in that quote that people don't always use. She says, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. And she also says this, when you only have one smile left, give it to someone who loves you. We can't give from an empty cup. So the last thing I want to talk about, you can't fix everybody. As a matter of fact, you can't fix anybody. You can't even fix yourself other than opening to the divine presence within you, releasing everything that stands in the way of your true and authentic nature as an expression of God's light, love, power, peace, beauty, and joy. When you get all of that out of the way, that is you. You didn't fix anything, you revealed something. You dropped all of the lies and false beliefs and error thoughts that were standing in the way of your authentic beauty and power. That's where we do this work, my friends. Our work to heal humanity begins in this humanity. Kathy Hearn, one of my mentors and teachers in ministerial school, she said it this way: when we heal a false belief in our own being, we heal it for all people, past, present, and future. That there is something about the collective consciousness when we do our work of spiritual growth, healing, evolution. The second of our value statements is becoming. Through grace and through practice, we heal and grow, revealing the Christ within. That's what this community is about. Nobody shows up here perfect. And if you're the one, let me know after service and we'll find a job for you. But none of us shows up here with all of our work done. We're here to do the work of our healing and our becoming and our revealing. And when we do this work individually, it affects the whole. There is a powerful teaching, many of you know it, a practice called Ho'oponopono. There is oh my goodness, it's not here. I'm just going to have to do it I'm somehow deleted the thing. So I don't have to remember the guy's name because it's not here. The clinical psychologist in Hawaii. This is actually an ancient Hawaiian practice. And in the 1970s, there was a kahuna, and her name was Morna Simeona. I did remember her name. She was a kahuna, a healer, and she began to take this ancient practice. The word pono in Hawaiian means correction, balance, wholeness. And the belief in Hawaiian spirituality for eons has been that when something is wrong in the community, in the family, or in the body, it's that something has gotten off in the spirit. Now, when Western medicine came along, that was considered a savage and pagan and superstitious belief, and now even medicine has caught up. That we are a wholeness, and when we are off in our psyche, in our spiritual well-being, it will show up in our families and in our bodies. I'm not saying that all physical illness is related to this, that we believe in pills and prayers and unity. But we can begin to approach that which is out of balance with this practice of remembering who and what we are. And she began to teach this ancient Hawaiian practice in a new way. And she had a student, Dr. Lim Key. I think that's incorrect. But he was actually a clinical psychologist, but he began to work with her. And he never considered himself a kahuna, but he also practiced Ho'oponopono, taking her principles and into his work. And he was hired at a mental institute for criminals, people that were not reachable, that they just simply had to be confined and restrained and medicated. That was all anybody knew what to do with them. And he was hired to oversee this ward, this wing of this institution. And he said, I will do it, but I don't want to do therapy. I want to do Ho'oponopono. And they said, have at it. And so he began to, and he just passed away about 4 weeks ago, an amazing, amazing man. And I'm so sorry that I deleted the little thing that had his name in this. All that I'm telling you, I hope I get it right, because I had it all written down right over there. But he would take the file of each of these hopeless cases, these people who were so alone, so otherized that they were in constant torment, mental and psychic and spiritual pain. And he began to read the record of all the catastrophes and wrongs and crimes committed, and his empathy awoke, just felt the sadness. He just let himself feel it. And the words came to his spirit, I'm sorry. And then from that place, he began to take these ancient Hawaiian teachings of balance and order in the cosmos, and he thought, maybe there's something in my consciousness that has contributed to a world where these people are having such a terrible experience. Maybe something in my ancestors' consciousness is a part of this. Whatever the part is, he's not saying I caused this, but whatever my part of this is, my seeing it wrongly, my inability to see God's presence, please forgive me. And then he noticed as he would hold these files, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Something began to turn and shift in his heart, in his spirit. Gratitude of all things, that something was being made right, corrected, brought back to balance in him, not out there in the world, in his awareness. And he simply said, thank you. And then being restored, rebalanced, reconnected, he was once again filled with a knowing of our oneness, of our common humanity and spirituality. And he simply said the words, I love you. And so these 4 mantras became the practice. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Never said to the person, only to his own consciousness. Over and over. Whenever the horror of one of these files would come to again of these people, he would just simply say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And as he was restored to balance, something happened on that ward. They got better. They were moved off of that floor. As a matter of fact, they shut down the whole wing of the institution. Joe Vitale heard this story, found him. They wrote a book about it called 0 Point. Is that what it's called? Somebody knows the book? But this practice of Ho'oponopono, it's like magic. That whenever we are feeling and we're believing in someone's lack or separation, anytime someone is maybe coming at us in some sort of attack, not to engage at that level, but just to say, I am sorry that you are in pain. I'm sorry that this world has caused pain. I'm sorry that this is happening. Please forgive me. Any way that I am holding you, anything I'm contributing to in consciousness to keep this situation going, anything my ancestors have done, please forgive me. Thank you for the restoration of balance, and I love you. What do I want to say about this? Doing this internal work in our own consciousness, it does not excuse us from having the crucial conversations that we need to have. Wouldn't that be nice if we didn't actually have to have those difficult conversations? We could just say all this inside and then it would all just go away. No, what it does is it prepares us. That when we come to have those difficult conversations, we do so from a place of balance and harmony restored. And when we show up, as Brené Brown says, awkward, brave, and kind, we are neither victims nor villains, and they are neither victims nor villains. If in case you haven't looked around in the world, we need this healing and rebalancing, don't you think? And so my charge to all of you in the room and all of you online is this week, just this week, give me 7 days of this and let's just see what happens, okay? That when you find yourself in judgment and opposition to anything, anyone out there, simply, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And see what happens in you. And then see what God does with that to heal the whole. Join me in prayer. In this moment, remembering there is only one life, one power, one presence, one infinite good, the source of all that is. I call it God because it's the biggest word I know. But there is only one presence. And every person, every experience, everything I can name or point to, both in form and in potentiality, it's part of this one presence of God. Nothing is outside of the circle of God. And so unified in my consciousness, knowing that I too am an expression of this one, it becomes effortless for me to speak my word, to channel divine creative energy, particularly towards this idea of our division and separation and aloneness. And I remember there is no truth in this whatsoever. That beneath every rift and distancing in human relationships, there is love and oneness and connection, and I remember it now. For everyone who is alone and in despair, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I remember restoration, wholeness, balance. And so what I know is this community, Unity of Houston, everyone who is here today or sees this later is inspired to give of this offering from our wholeness, from our authentic nature of love in expression. And we know this healing is occurring within and without. And we expect and accept the transformations, the miracle stories, the healings all around us and within us. We know that it is done this way. How could it be otherwise? And what is known in the mind of God anywhere is known in the mind of God everywhere. And so I release this word into the mystery and the mastery of the law, knowing that it is already demonstrated into form. And with cheerful expectancy, we await the demonstration, the manifestation. And when it comes, we go, there you are, just as we knew. And so it is. Amen. This is important work. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, my friend Kathy Hearn, my mentor, she would also say this: spiritual community is the place where we get to grow up all over each other. We get to be imperfect as we take this on. So from all my imperfection, it's the best I got today. If no one has told you they love you today, I love you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.